We would naturally assume that the deaf could not be helped by music, yet the following reading demonstrates an unsuspected relationship between physical hearing and the spiritual nature. To what has the body attuned itself as to its hearing? Hearing is one of the senses of the nervous system of the body, and the nervous system of the sensory organism, which is the passage between mental and spiritual aspirations of an individual entity. True, there are purely pathological conditions, yet these, if attuned to or centered upon the spiritual things and spiritual desires, may indeed be helped so that, even with the loss of auditory reaction, there may be even greater hearing attuned by the body. Attune self to the divine within, using the ability of every nature for the reconstruction of self as well as that about self. For if you would have hearing, give it, and making the listening to something that the entity might accomplish be worthwhile, and ye will hear. The reading indicated that man's first awareness of the healing quality in music was in prehistoric Egypt. In the one incarnation before this, we found in that period when division arose in the land now known as Egypt. The entity then chief among the musicians of the period, furnishing to the people that the first according of vibratory forces in nature to the healing of forces in the physical ills, or first ability of the physicians in charge of the institution of learning, toward the application of mental and of material conditions for the welfare of the human race, to gain the knowledge of the nerve vibrations in the body from this entity's application of stringed and horned instruments as applied to the vibratory forces set in various diseases of the mental and physical body. The urge as seen from this experience, the love of music, of harmony, yet the initiate, unsatisfied, desired to be unable to minister to the physical ills of the individual, and the entity does often feel the urge to be a physician, yet not knowing what branch or what field to express self in. Find and express same in the harmony of string instruments with the varied ills of the human family as respecting to certain diseases, for from the entity's ability much of that has become the material rather than the spiritual impulse arose from the chants, and those are so often heard, to drive away the very impulses in the human heart. In the series of the readings given for the prayer group, there is an interpretation of a dream which relates to healing through music. I saw each one on the prayer list as notes in music. Through our attunement and their seeking, the master musician, Christ, began to play the notes and harmony reigned throughout. I felt this was an illustration of vibrations and healing. Is this how the healing takes place? Very beautiful illustration, but don't think it's all of it. No one mind may conceive all that may be done through the power of the master musician, for it may bud as the rose, it may be the song of the frog, or even any. Those that would be to self as those that would be grating vibrations, for the cricket on the hearth to self is obnoxious, but to some would bring harmony and peace as home. Is this why in meditation I often hear music and the words of a hymn presented themselves? Then sing it. Will help someone, that is, the best you can. Not only was a spiritual healer admonished to the use of vibrations of music, but in one reading a doctor was told that the very low music would help him in his diagnosis. Whenever attempting to locate disturbances, have low music being played, very low but of that nature which would give the vibration to the entity. Then we will find a greater sensitivity and the ability for the application of self as in relationship to others. One that will find music as an outlet for self in a great many ways and manners. What type of music should be played while treating? That of a low but a pastoral nature. The patient also can derive help from music during treatment. For a 15-year-old with serious convulsions, this advice was given. Do get the note vibration in music to which the body will respond and continue to interest the body in the same whenever treatment was given. Music was suggested in the treatment of deafness for a 5-year-old girl. Just what kind of music and in what manner may it be used? Especially those tones or chords that would be found to be pleasing and will response in the emotions of the body. This should be a part of its training. A young woman of 23 who was suffering from blindness received this reading. It is advisable for the body to study music or any other subject, or would it tax her mind and strength so as to retard her improvement? Study of music would assist, for there is much music in the makeup of the body, and those vibrations of music would assist the body in regaining sight and use of sound forces, which is second to vision. See? Many of the readings related the vibrations of sound and color and suggest that they be used together in healing. Also let the body with the physical actions of same and feel the vibration in string musical instruments, that they may feel the vibration as will be accorded the system. Also, keep the color vibration much about the body of deep violet and red, that these may vibrate before the sensitive forces and find their corresponding vibrations in this body we are speaking of. The vibrations in musical instruments, the violin, the guitar, and any of the intermediate or instruments that catch the eye of the body. Keep these up and we will find the responding in these forces and bring the body to the condition that the physical response will show and manifest through the speech and to the hearing. The very young are particularly influenced by color, as the next excerpt for a 5-month-old boy indicates. Music, musical tendencies, will be an influence in the entity's activities. The music will be quieting, especially that of stringed instruments, yet those of the horn or pipe or reed will later be more active influences in the entity's experience. Colors will also find an influence in the entity's activities, especially those of not too severe, but the violet, ultraviolet, shades of green, of mauve, light bluish gray, and pink. Though the others may make for a rigor oft in the entity, the delicate shades, or those as may be termed the spiritual, will influence the entity. When illness or the like were to come about, soft music and the lighter shades or tones will quiet where medicine will fail. Amazing and interesting discoveries are being made in the medical world in the use of colored light rays. Dr. Martha Sharpless, chief of the pediatric section of Cone Hospital in Greensboro, North Carolina, has been utilizing a method investigated in England about 10 years ago. The device consists of a cool white fluorescent tube which emits blue light waves. It is used as a tool for the elimination of jaundice in both premature and full-term babies, and in reducing the need for transfusion of blood in babies born by parents having incompatible Rh blood factors. Phototherapy, which it is called, by some unexplained method, breaks down the bile pigment known as bilirubin so that it can be eliminated from the blood of infants. Released in excessive amounts into the blood from the destruction of the red blood cells or built up in the body from another cause, bilirubin can also cause brain damage or anemia. Dr. Sharpless has been tremendously pleased by the results of the light treatment and stated that in 1969 that it does not appear that the important factor is the intensity level or the number of lights, but the exposure of the infant to the light waves. The length of the exposure time evidently varies with the infant. The following reading goes into more detail regarding the lights and color, which may be either destructive or helpful in healing. All vibrations, color, and color with radiation is to set the vibration in the body for body forces, and this body is in the developing stage or that stage of growth, physical, mental, and spiritual. This vibration of the ultraviolet, applied to the kidney region for cancer, is as seek out in the body. In bodies of varied vibrations where there are such conditions as here, the ultraviolet without the green light may be helpful, but in most instances there is needed a change in vibration. The projection of green light is preferable because green is the healing vibration. Here, in the character of nature of disturbance, where there is the formation of that which is any malignant nature, the green light will be more effective than even the more penetrating nature or even the X-ray. That destroys tissue, but not being enabled to eliminate that destroyed, tends to come back upon itself after certain radiations. Some forms of such might be added if radium were its extra vibration were added to that of the destructive nature. What light should be used for healing? Any penetrating light, that of the dry heat, or that acts the quickest with the bloodstream. For, as is seen, this is the effect of light, or whatever nature that may be applied to a body, All bacilli or germs are afraid of it, as it were, of light, or light is destructive to all. Hence the variation in the quartz light, light shining through colored quartz, the ultraviolet light, the blue light, the red light, each one taking out that filters through the system. Hence, for this illness, that one most penetrating without being destructive is the tissue proper. There are many advantages derived when a person creates vibrations within himself by singing. For the voice nerve center is the highest vibration in the whole nerve system. To what extent can singing or chanting help restore the body? The entity lived to be a ripe old age, for with the regeneration of the priest, these were brought in greater part by those activities of the entity itself in making for those incantations which raised the influences of the spiritual forces above the secular or the material things. Thus the entity lived to be what would be called today the years of 254. Dentists today are experimenting with the use of music as anesthesia. They find that the ear sets placed in the chair's headrest and tuned to music of low vibration sometimes helps the patient to be unaware of pain. Of growing intensity of pain may be countered by a corresponding increase in volume. The field of musical anesthesia is being expanded to more complicated operations. A project, quote, Music for Surgery, end quote, started by Dr. Lester A.R.E, Dragstadist, is now in the progress at the Nathan Goldblatt Memorial Hospital of the University of Chicago. In this age of Aquarius, it would seem that the vibration which we see as color and hear as music are becoming more and more recognized as a potent influence in the life of man.